Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is an action comedy from Japan, Japanese language English subs, released in the year 2013, directed by Shion Sono, and this movie is called Why Don't You Play in Hell? So Why Don't You Play in Hell is basically about aspiring filmmakers. There's a group of them. Ever since they were children, they've always had the dream of becoming big directors, but that dream has never come. So 10 years have passed and they still haven't realised their childhood dream, and some of them are starting to get a little bit disillusioned. But on the other hand, you've got a Yakuza feud. Now this Yakuza feud has been lasting for many, many years, and involved in this Yakuza feud is a young girl. Her dad is one of the Yakuza bosses, and she was a superstar as a child. She was in a toothpaste commercial, and it was a very catchy tune, but for reasons related to her mother, who went to jail for 10 years for a brutal murder, she had been shunned as a childhood star, and ever since that day she had wanted to make it big in a big movie. So basically she is in a movie, and her mother, who's in jail, is going to be released in 10 days' time, and the Yakuza boss treasures his wife, and he says that his daughter is going to make her very proud. And so she's really excited that, 10 days' time she's going to get out, she's going to watch her daughter on the movies. But the problem is that she's been taken out of this movie for, once again, reasons that I'm not going to go into, and this has left the Yakuza boss in a very awkward situation. He doesn't want to tell his wife that the daughter has been kicked off, so he's going to make his own film, and this is where these childhood friends, these filmmakers, are going to come into the picture. So I'm not going to tell you what happens because it is quite easy to give away, but what ensues is a whole level of insanity, and what happens and who comes out of this ordeal in one piece is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Why Don't You Play in Hell. I absolutely love this movie, and I was really scared that I wasn't going to like it for the simple fact that I'm not a massive Shion Sono fan. Now granted, I've only watched one of his films, but that one movie was probably the worst movie to really get started and introduced to his work, and that was Himizu. I thought Himizu was way too long, which is the case with Why Don't You Play in Hell. It is a little bit long, but Himizu was just really boring, and it felt like it was just force-feeding all the emotions. It wasn't letting you think as a viewer for yourself, and it was basically an insult to your intelligence as a viewer. So I really didn't like Himizu, and so for that reason I was skeptical coming into Why Don't You Play in Hell, but thankfully this movie was absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was a very smart film. On one hand, you've got a commentary on what filmmaking is these days, basically the death of 35mm camera work, the modern era of making movies as opposed to the older era, and the clash of the clash of methods I thought was very fascinating. You've also got the other side of art imitating life and life imitating art, basically not telling the difference between fact and fiction. The violence on camera as opposed to violence in real life. I thought that was a very interesting aspect of it as well. But the beauty of it is that yes, it does tackle some serious sort of themes, but it is just really fun to watch. It's an incredibly entertaining film. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. The jokes work. I thought the characters were very much over the top for their own benefit. It really felt like a cartoon sort of film, but at the same time it's being levelled in realism by the commentary on film, the commentary on aspiring filmmakers, never giving up on your dreams. It has those themes, but Shion Sono isn't doing what he did in Himizu. Basically in Himizu, he was hitting you over the head with all these themes. He's not letting you really appreciate the movie. But in this movie, he lets you sit back, enjoy what you're seeing, and at the same time have a little thought about all these serious themes that's been depicted. And I think that Shion Sono demonstrates that he loves cinema himself, and he's a fan of the old methods of filmmaking, and he's kind of showing you the contrasting difference between old and new. And then you've got the side story of the Yakuza war. I thought the Yakuza bosses in particular were very, very funny, very much over the top, cartoonish caricature sort of characters, and it really works because it does show you, the levels of, what filmmaking has become, and the difference between violence in reality and violence in film. And so there's a lot of CGI splashed in the movie, which I thought was deliberate, because once again it's shown you the more modernised version of filmmaking. And so for film buffs, you're really going to get something out of this, but at the same time you're going to be strongly entertained. So even if you're not a film buff, you don't really have to know too much about it, because it's not hitting you over the head with it. It's allowing you to enjoy what you're actually seeing. And if you don't want to take any notice of the commentary on film, you don't have to. You can just enjoy what you're seeing. You can enjoy the crazy idea that the movie has. I thought the group of friends who were filmmakers, I thought their dynamics were very good. I thought they were very authentic. It actually felt like they were a close-knit family. All the characters have gone into in detail, and so you actually care for them. Even the Yakuza bosses you like, because they've got that evil sort of presence, but at the same time they've got a lot of charm to them. So it makes every character likeable, but at the same time you're not really that sad if you see them getting killed off. So it's that type of movie where you just have so much fun with it, and I just enjoyed what Sion Sono had to deliver, and it does showcase, that he is a very good director regardless of what I thought of Himizu. I thought cinematography was absolutely fantastic. As I said, characters were great, the script was great, it made me laugh on more than one occasion. I thought the way over the top violence, if you like films like Azumi, where someone gets cut and blood just this is what the film's about, that's the type of violence you're going to get. So it's definitely not a movie that could be remade by the United States. It definitely has a very strong Japanese flavour that only the Japanese can get away with. Unfortunately, although the movie is very good, or actually I should comment about the soundtrack as well. I thought the soundtrack was absolutely fantastic. Now, unfortunately, I think the movie does go a little bit too long. But having said that, I still enjoyed every moment. But you kind of feel to yourself that, yeah, Sion Sono, he likes making these epic-sized films, but sometimes he just gets stuck a little bit and you feel like he's dragging it out just a touch. So I think that if the movie was cut by about 10 or 15 minutes, it would have been a little bit better. But having said that, that is not a major criticism. This is a movie that I would happily recommend to anyone out there if you're a fan of crazy Japanese movies, because Why Don't You Play in Hell is definitely a movie that I would recommend, and as a result of all that, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.